Hello everybody, welcome to Children's Liturgy Online. It's really lovely to see you. I hope you've enjoyed the sun this week. It's been really hot, hasn't it? Today is a really special Children's Liturgy because I've invited my friend Kevin to lead our Children's Liturgy today. Kevin works for St Peter's Secondary School in Guildford, and I invited him to speak to us today because it is the feast of St Peter and St Paul, which is why we have the colour red again on the table. We've had lots of this colour red over this last few weeks, haven't we? All the different feast days that we've celebrated, and this is a particularly special one, St Peter and St Paul. So I'm going to hand over now to Kevin, who's going to lead our Children's Liturgy, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin. Some of you may recognise me from the 6 o'clock Mass at St Joseph's in the evening. Some of you may also recognise me from the youth groups at the Parish, at Fearless, Fusion and Focus. And Asil's asked me to talk to you today for a very special reason, which some of you may not know. Today is the feast of St Peter and St Paul. And when I'm not at the church, my regular job is I work at St Peter's School, where if you have some older brothers and sisters, they may come to this school. And this is our feast day because we are St Peter's School, and I'm here in our chapel because my job at St Peter's is the chaplain. So I really want to tell you a little bit about who Peter is, because I think he's amazing, but also a little bit about St Paul, because he's great too. Now over here, I have a statue of St Peter. If you look really carefully, you can see he's got 2 keys in his hands. A lot of images of St Peter, he has 2 keys. And that's because of the Gospel that we will hear at Mass. Let me just read it to you. It comes from St Matthew. Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, but others Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be considered loosed in heaven." Then he sternly ordered the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. In that story, Peter was always known as Peter, but his actual name is Simon, and he has a bit of a name change because Peter means rock, because rock is really strong. And if you're going to build a house and a foundation for our church, you want to build it on something pretty strong. Some of you may have heard the Bible story about the foolish man who built his house on sand and the wise man who built his house on rock. So it's always a bit more wise to build your house on something really solid. And the thing we can learn about St. Peter is he made quite a bit of mistakes. He denied Jesus 3 times. He said a few things that Jesus wasn't really happy with and told him off for. He also cut the ear off one of the soldiers when Jesus was being arrested. He did get a little bit angry sometimes, like I know we all do. But Jesus chose Peter to be our first Pope. And today we have Pope Francis, and we can work our way all the way back, all the way to Peter. And he was the first person to lead us in our church. But there's also St. Paul. And like St. Peter, St. Paul is not actually his name. His real name was Saul, but his name got changed. He was on a journey to Damascus because St. Paul wasn't a very nice guy before. He went around killing people who were Christians. So quite often you will see that he is pictured with a sword because he killed them, and that wasn't very nice, is it? But he had this moment on this road to Damascus where some light blinded him and he couldn't see. And after a few days later, his eyes were opened. He began to realise that Jesus is God, and he became a follower. In fact, it virtually became the opposite of what it was before, from killing Christians. Now, he was telling people to follow Jesus and become Christians. And he went on many journeys and he wrote many letters to the people who he visited. You can read some of those in the Bible. So both Peter and Paul are so important in our church community as the foundation of our faith, of why we are gathered round an altar at Mass, why we gather together on a Sunday. Those two individuals are so important. So I'm going to give you a little challenge for today. I want you to get out your Bible and turn to the book of Acts. That book just appears after all the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. And the book of Acts tells the story of the early church, of some of the things St. Peter and St. Paul did. Have a read of some of the adventures they went on. I particularly like the story of when St. Peter got arrested and managed to escape with the help of an angel. Have a read, it's a really cool story. But as we gather today on this feast, thank you for joining me here at St. Peter's School in our chapel. If you see me around, do give me a wave and say hello. Now you know who I am, if you didn't know before. And I hope you have an amazing feast of St. Peter and Paul today. Bye.